Conservative thought, not just talk. It is the Dan O'Donnell Show. Fiery testimony all day yesterday in the House Judiciary Committee as former special counsel Robert Hur was grilled about his report, finding that, yes, absolutely, President Biden violated the law by willfully retaining classified information. Violated every single element of the statute on mishandling classified information, but Hur found that a jury would never convict him because they would find Biden to be a, quote, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Now, Democrats tried all day long to get Hur to say, well, your report exonerated President Biden. Republicans, of course, and Hur himself were having none of this.
Your report is not an exoneration so much as a determination that the evidence as you saw it would not overcome the defenses that you had identified, plus whatever lack of evidence you perceived. So it's not an exoneration, is it?
The word exoneration does not appear anywhere in my report, and that is not my conclusion.
Joining me now to talk about it, two men who were able to question Robert Hur, members of the Judiciary Committee from Wisconsin, Congressman Tom Tiffany and Scott Fitzgerald, both joining us live on the phone. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to join you, Dan. Good morning.
Congressman Tiffany, what was your overall takeaway from Robert Hur's testimony?
The Democrats are in full panic mode. If you watch Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell's questioning, they just grilled her, and they tried to convince the American public that this was just a hit job done by Robert Hur. They are in full panic mode in regards to Joe Biden.
And Congressman Fitzgerald, you focused in particular on Hur's finding that it was President Biden's mental capacity that really formed the basis of his decision not to go forward with charges. And you actually used the word senile, asking her, do you feel like the president is senile? Why?
Well, if you look at the report in the discussion that ensued kind of back and forth with the committee members, it was apparent to, I think, everyone that there was definitely kind of this dichotomy of, you know, if he is not of full mental capacity, certainly I think that, you know, you cannot just give him a pass. So, you know, when we looked up the definition of senile, it came across as, wow, this is exactly what we're describing when it comes to President Biden right now. So, and Hur was quick to dismiss the idea that he was senile. But again, there were many members that were kind of going down that line of questioning, and I thought it was pretty effective because it was demonstrating just exactly kind of what the report was referring to.
Right. And it seems as though the Biden administration here is caught between a rock and a hard place. The rock being, no, President Biden is perfectly fine. He isn't showing the signs of his age. He doesn't have a faltering memory. He is not too senile to prosecute. And the hard place is, well, he is too senile to prosecute. Ergo, he did not commit any crimes. He did not willfully retain classified information. But that also makes him mentally unfit to hold the office of the president. Congressman Tiffany, you have been noting that for quite some time. What do you think the Biden administration does moving forward after this testimony, which I think reiterated what was found in the report, that there really is no third option? Either the president criminally mishandled classified information, or he did, but he's too senile to prosecute for it.
Yeah, if you saw his attorney, I saw a clip this morning that the attorney was saying, it's time to move on. Let's move on. So think about it. They got a real problem when his legal counsel is just saying, nothing to see here. We've got to move on. But back to your original question also, Dan, Hur was seeking a way out here. And I think ultimately his calculus is that he wants the voters to decide. And, you know, generally in the judicial system, that's what they try to do in the middle of elections, which we're in the middle of here in 2024. And I think he was just seeking a way out, and ultimately he's just saying, we're going to let the voters decide who they want as a president as we go forward. But the Biden administration and Team Biden, the Democrats, they know they have a really big problem here. And, I mean, what is it, Dan? Like half of Democrats don't want Joe Biden as their nominee.
And this, I think, is the primary reason why. I mean, you've got the various factions, the most vocal right now being the pro-Palestinian younger left wing of the party saying, you know, he's genocide Joe and we don't want him. But I think the overarching concern is that because of this diminished mental state, he's not going to be able to win, that he's not going to be able to campaign. I mean, the administration, the campaign has already signaled that it's going to essentially be a sequel to Jimmy Carter's infamous Rose Garden campaign, which he got just destroyed by Ronald Reagan in 1980 because he didn't go out on the campaign trail. In fact, the parallels between Biden and Carter are remarkable, from inflation to higher gas prices to a president saying, well, this is sort of the new normal and we're just all going to have to deal with this. And you've got, I think, a Democratic Party that is splintered over this issue. Congressman Fitzgerald, I want to drill down on a point that Congressman Matt Gaetz made in this hearing. Her confirmed that at multiple points during the 2 days of interviews, Biden lied. Do you believe, and Gaetz was drilling down on this, Gaetz was very direct, do you believe that Biden should have been prosecuted, or at least the issue of prosecutable lies to federal investigators should have been raised in the Her report?
Absolutely. You know, I think what Matt was like you described, drilling down into, and what a lot of us who sat through the entire hearing found, you know, all of a sudden it very clear was that, you know, there were up to 6 locations in which President Biden was keeping unsecure locations, different documents. So it's not like it was all in one filing cabinet. I mean, they were scattered everywhere. And I thought that Chairman Jordan did a good job of kind of bringing that full circle by once again describing the idea that, you know, there was a motive here. You know, what was Joe Biden thinking keeping all these classified documents? And I think he figured it out. He broke the code, and this was kind of these scattered memoir notes along with classified documents that he was going to use for this book deal. $8 million. And you could see kind of the room change, the tempo of the discussion and just the feeling in the room change when Jim Jordan laid that out, because I think it demonstrated, you know, everyone could figure that out. That made sense to us.
I want to share with you guys, Congressman Scott Fitzgerald and Tom Tiffany joining me here on the Dan O'Donnell Show, a news report from CBS This Morning in 2015, dealing with a certain former CIA director.
David Petraeus admitted giving his biographer and lover, Paula Broadwell, several notebooks he knew contained highly classified information, and then lying about it to the FBI.
But perhaps my experience can be instructive to others who stumble or indeed fall as far as I did.
Mishandling classified information is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in prison. In this plea agreement, the Justice Department will ask the judge to impose 2 years probation and a $40,000 fine.
Let's see. You've got a high-ranking government official sharing classified information with his biographer. Congressman Tiffany, does that sound at all familiar to you?
Yeah, that's exactly what. So if you look at the Espionage Act, there's actually there's 3 elements to it. One is, do you have unauthorized possession of documents that pertain to the national defense? And then do you not return those documents to the proper repository? And Joe Biden did all 3 of those things. And so, you know, you perhaps look past it if it's just like a one-off. But in the testimony that we saw in some of the information that Her generated, this was a pattern going all the way back to 2011 that Herr identified, where President or then Vice President Biden's staff kept reminding him, this is classified documents. You got to be careful with them. He is a serial abuser of classified documents, and part of it, I believe, was he wanted to get the $8 million book deal that Congressman Fitzgerald alluded to.
Now, Congressman Fitzgerald, what Herr also reiterated in his testimony was that when the ghostwriter was made aware of the fact that this was under investigation, he moved the audio recording that he made of Biden saying, hey, the classified stuff is downstairs, to the recycle bin on his computer in an obvious attempt to hide evidence. Do you feel that a potential prosecution of said ghostwriter would be warranted given that apparent attempt to destroy evidence that was currently under subpoena, under investigation?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about Herr was he was kind of unflappable. You know, he had a specific answer. He kind of referred to his notes all the time. And when the question came up about, you know, was the ghostwriter actually trying to delete the material, or what was he up to when he moved those files? You could tell that Herr was kind of the opinion that absolutely he was trying to hide something. Was it actually deleted? No, but said that was not something that they pursued further than that. So yeah, he discussed it at length in front of the committee.
And besides, I mean, Congressman Tiffany, don't we know that, at least according to Hillary Clinton, the way you actually wipe a computer is like with a cloth, right? I mean, he did it wrong. He didn't do the right thing. So, Congressman Tiffany, in all seriousness, after this testimony, what happens here? You know, we hear all this damning information about President Biden. We hear that he essentially has been exonerated for the exact same crimes that President Trump is now going to, we think, face a prosecution for ahead of the election. It's still open. I actually don't think that case is going to go to trial before November, just because of all of the intricacies in discovery and whatnot. But the American people here are saying, okay, well, you know, we got this report, we got all this. Where's the accountability?
That's a question constituents ask all the time. But as we go forward, so the valuable thing here, Dan, is I think we've really done used a methodical process over the last year. I think this is a good additive to what Chairman Comer and the Oversight Committee has been doing. We continue to make the case that what is the motivation of Joe Biden? The motivation of Joe Biden was clear yesterday. He believes he's this towering political figure of the early 21st century, and he also is seeking to enrich himself. So you go to, 20 shell companies and over $20 million that have been identified. I think you're going to see the Oversight Committee release even more information, and the hits are going to continue to come over the next few months, Dan, releasing more information about how the Biden family has enriched themselves and really getting much. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I think we continue to get closer and closer to the fire.
Congressman Tom Tiffany, Congressman Scott Fitzgerald, both from Wisconsin, both on the House Judiciary Committee, both had the opportunity to grill Special Counsel Robert Herr yesterday. Gentlemen, thank you so much for talking to me here on the Dan O'Donnell Show today. I do appreciate it.